Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Renee. If you're new, welcome back to our channel. I want to start saying that again because this is just as much your channel as it is mine. You guys have been through so much with me. We've had these like mental health chats before, as the title states. I'm sure you guys know. We're just gonna have a little chat today. And in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, today is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is a platform that gives access to licensed therapists at affordable prices and on your own time. I've talked about them many times before. It is such a great way to kind of get over the excuses of therapy. When I'm looking into therapy, it can be super intimidating. Not only is it super time consuming trying to find the right therapist, super like expensive now, traditional therapy. BetterHelp has a monthly subscription service, so basically you're paying a month fee and then you have access and you're not paying like per session, which can really rack up. You can do it on your own time. There's a quiz online, so you get matched to the right therapist for you depending on what you need and like the goals you have for your therapy, and there's no guilt when it comes to like switching your therapist. I know for me, at least when I'm trying to like find the right one, I always like have to shop around, and it makes me feel kind of guilty because I'm a little bit of a people pleaser and I don't want to like offend anyone, but if I don't feel matched, it feels like really awkward, and it's just like this whole other stressor in my life to have to like tell them I'm not interested or like switch or just discontinue it. But BetterHelp makes it really easy. You can just switch online and just say this one's not for me and shop around for more. You can do it through your phone. They have video call. You can do it on your laptop. Like, it's all on your own terms. I think there's a lot of stigma around therapy. I feel like people think that you're weak or like you label yourself as weak. Just something to note here, Z and I went to couples therapy. We had like a bout of a really bad time, and we just kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, and it just kept getting worse because I just thought like, oh, that means we failed or like we're weak or whatever. And like the minute that we went to therapy, the first session we had laughed and smiled and connected on a way that we hadn't done in like months. And I remember thinking in that moment, like, why didn't I do this sooner? Having an outside source that's not part of your day-to-day life and can just give you professional help, and they're not connected in any way emotionally or anything like that. Sometimes it's just easier to reach out for help that way than like talk about it with friends or something like that, because they become emotionally tied, and then it just adds again another stressor. So it's a sign of strength. I will link them down below. Huge shout out to them for sponsoring today's video. They're giving you guys 10% off of your first month if you go to betterhelp.com/Renee Amberg. So huge shout out to them. I just want to like talk with you guys. Like, I just feel like chatting. I feel like having a therapy session. So I wrote and kind of just journaled out some things that I just kind of wanted to touch on. Like I said, I don't really know where this is gonna go, how long this is gonna be, but grab a cup of coffee, grab like a beverage, and we're just gonna sit and chat. I just wanted to talk with you guys because I feel like over the past few years, I really have kind of created a like filter through my life. Like, I was just so confused where I feel like I kind of just disconnected from you guys. It's almost like you guys are my friends, right? And so if you are having a hard time in life, you kind of like isolate and you're not as open with your friends. That's kind of where I felt the past few years. Like, we've been like so close and like I've been so open, but the past few years I've just really kind of took a step back and just kind of like was in my own little world and bubble. I don't know, I just kind of like isolated myself from a lot of what made me, and a huge part of it is my channel. I'm just gonna take a breath because I always feel so tight now when I'm filming, and I think it's just because I've been out of it for so long. I'm coming back to myself, and like a huge part of my issues stemmed from confidence issues, from a lot of what I went through and a lot of things that had happened to me. Obviously, like through the journey of my pregnancies and having Bryson in particular, being a mother and entering into motherhood itself is like really self-altering, and you change. I don't know, it's such a big identity crisis, I think, when mothers go through this, especially their first child. Adding on top of becoming a mother and how isolating that can feel, and how like weirdly out of tune you are with yourself and your body, like it's physical, emotional, like all of it. It's such a beautiful thing, but there is a lot of like mental stuff that goes into it when it comes to confidence and knowing who you are. There's just so much sacrifice that goes into motherhood too, and it's just that alone in itself is something that women go through. On top of that, obviously I went through a lot of struggles with my pregnancy, and I had a lot of doubt with that. I had like compared myself a lot. I felt like I did something wrong. It was so hard because all of these changes were going on in my body where I had no say or control over it. I kind of just had to let it play out. There was nothing I could do. And like having your body fail on you like that, especially when you've been like so healthy, your entire life and like so in tune with your body. It was such a struggle for me being around the hospital for that long, and like even in the NICU for 3 months and seeing everyone's story. Like it was just a cloud of like really a dark time, and seeing your kids suffer, especially like your firstborn, and like having him in your belly and then having to like give him up, and not even like they just do it. Like it's not like they ask, and obviously like you can't, like they're doing the right thing and they're protecting the baby, but it's such a like mentally tough thing to deal with. You just don't feel like the mom, and you feel like someone took over. Like it just felt like out of this world. I felt like my world was ending, and there were so many times that Bryson's life was at stake, and I like had, you know, no say, and it was just like, why is the world doing this? And like to this poor innocent boy. And I would like see all these other NICU stories and hear about all these stories about how these like really, really innocent, pure souls were like being like, I don't know, I felt like a science experiment too, being in the NICU, like all the like stuff that they do and tests, and it just felt like that was my baby, and like he was being like poked and prodded, and like it was just the weirdest thing. And like having someone else take care of your baby, especially like in a vulnerable state like that, especially being a first-time mom, especially when he was in your belly for so long, like there was just so much going on. And like I don't think you'll ever understand unless you're a NICU mom, especially like a premature NICU mom. It's traumatizing. It is so traumatizing, and it's not something I think a mother, like obviously is not prepared to go through. That was like a whole struggle in itself. And then coming home and having to deal with like the postpartum anxiety. We were talking about it the other day. I've been so chill with Timmy. Xander like reminds me sometimes of like how great I'm doing, and I kind of look back at how I was when I brought Bryson home. He described it perfectly. He was like, your anxiety was debilitating. And like obviously I had postpartum anxiety, but add on top of it the trauma and like the anxiety I had around him being premature and everything, there was just like this whole other level of debilitating anxiety, like debilitating. And I didn't really showcase that through this channel as much because I don't know, that's just such a private part of my life. And there were just things that were going on when it came to Bryson that I had to like overcome. And so mentally I was shaken, right? I was just not there. We ended up doing the move. I'm just a disclaimer here, we're talking about a loss. So if you want to skip, I will put a little timestamp here of where you can skip to if you want to skip past this. Got pregnant again, and then that loss was really weird because it's like my body failed again. I felt like I was being punished. I was just like so out of tune with like the confidence I had in myself. I don't know, that there's a feeling when you go through something like that. And I was 14 weeks, so it wasn't like, you know, not that this, I'm discrediting this, but it wasn't an early miscarriage, it was a later one. And like that feeling of like what happened, like the process of that was something I will never forget. And again, it's like a mental thing. It's like, did that baby, like, I don't even know if he came out, like, was he alive? Was he not? Like, it just happened so quick. And like, I remember, I feel like this is too much to even talk about, but I remember every sensory, how about this? I remember every 5 senses during that time. Very, very, like, it's in my head. That's what I remember the most, is like all of my 5 senses. If you could just, you know, I don't want to talk about that because it's a little dark. And then everything that happened after that was just like the worst thing that happened to me and my family. Like Z and I got into a really, 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 really dark place where I didn't see, you know, how I could get out of this, and like having to think about what the effects would be of that had it not worked out. Dealing right after all of this other stuff, having to like think about that alone was just like extremely tough. And like there were so many other people involved, and that's where I think what went wrong. And this is not like infidelity in any way, like no one cheated or anything, but it was just a lot of people that came into it that were emotionally involved that like made it feel 10 times like stronger and complicated. The fact that we even overcame it, I don't even know. Like if I told myself going back there that we would be in a place that we are today, I wouldn't believe you. I was just at my wit's end. Like I didn't know how I could keep going. And so like that whole time period and having to like rebuild, and I'm so proud of us for what we've accomplished, me and Z, having to rebuild on that like huge area of issues and like big monumental things happening and having to rebuild from that with that on my mind was like such a struggle. And we still, you know, have moments where it comes back up, and it's tough because I don't ever want to like live in those spots again, but it's so hard to like live in the now without, you know, having them occasionally intertwine into our day-to-day. And so that's just been such a challenge for me, and I don't pick up the camera, and I don't want to work, and I don't want to like hang out with friends, and I just literally want to self-isolate. Like, depression is so weird because you're in it, but when I have children and you're in it, as a mom, like, you just don't think, like, you just take care of your kids. And I put on the smile, I put on the, you know, happiness, and I want to show, at the time I was just Bryson, all the joy that I could, and like just be present with him. But at the same time, like, in my heart, I just felt like this dark cloud that just wouldn't leave. It was affecting literally all aspects of my life, and it started with myself. Once I was not okay, it seeped into the other parts of my life, which got even more frustrating because I literally saw my life crumble. And even with this channel, like, I just knew I wasn't doing the best I could. This was like the one thing I had to during 2020 when I went through, I thought, the worst time in my life when my dad passed and all that stuff, and this was like the one thing that kept me going. You have to be on social media, and so if you like take a break or you don't go with the changes, like, you kind of tend to lose it. And that alone was so fearful for me because it's not only been such a part of my life, but it's been my outlet, and I love what I do. And seeing that now kind of turn into, I have to figure out how to do this so that I'm like financially okay, because that's another part of my life that I saw crumble, was like all of my finances, because of all of the, you know, doctors and like hospital visits and all of that stuff, like buying a home, and at the same time not working as consistently. I just saw literally, like I said, all aspects of my life crumble, and I've always been so confident in that side of my life. I just lost all confidence in every little aspect of my life. I was like so focused on the negative because I felt like there was so much negative overriding anything positive in my life. And that was like where I think I messed up, is I was just giving so much attention to those thoughts. I was giving power to that. And whether it was through other people in my life or other people in my comment section, myself in my own thoughts, it was excruciating to have to deal with. I just wanted to lay in bed all day. Like, I just didn't want to get up. It's literally a choice to be happy. Attaining happiness too all the time is like so unrealistic. When you have a lot though of negativity overriding the positive, you just don't have the spark in you anymore. Like, that's gone. And that was so sad to me because I was so proud of who I was, and I felt like the people around me were so proud of who I was. And when I lost that and I lost myself, I lost everything else around me. And so I had actually gone to therapy when I was pregnant with Timmy at the end, because I felt like this, I don't know, like something inside me was missing. And she went over, there were 4 categories. One was health, one was career, one was hobbies, and one was friendships. I'll write them here. I think that's what they were. I scored low on 2, friendships and like the hobby one. And so she's like, both of these are correlated with joy. She's like, what do you do like for fun? Like, what makes you you? It's like, well, I love my job. And she's like, no, that's career. And I was like, okay, well, I love working out. No, that's health. She's like, what do you do? Like, if you just had a hobby, like, what do you do? I was like, oh God, I don't know. Like, those are my 2 joys. And she's like, no, like, you need to find out what sparks your joy. So I went home that day and I just like wrote out a joy list, if you will. Like, when do I feel the most like myself? Just pure joy. And I found that a lot of them were just these small, simple joys, like reading and learning and dancing around my apartment and listening to good music, decorating and playing with spaces. I always feel guilty for that one because people give me shit for it. That's something that makes me happy, and like, it's a creative outlet for me, and it literally makes and feeds my soul. I feel so happy when I make and create a space and a mood, and having other people diminish that or take that away from me when that makes me who I am. I just was like so done with people just not accepting me for who I was. And so I was like, I'm done with that. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and let other people's chatter or negativity around me and who they think I am affect me, because that drove me down a hole, like a real hole, trying to impress or please people or try to hide versions of myself to make them happy. Like, I just had this like weird like need to please, and it was turning me into like the worst version of myself. I was like, I need to start focusing on these things, because when I'm not happy, when I don't fill my cup, everyone who loves me around me is affected. Why would I do that? Like, there's no benefit in allowing this negative external sources affect my soul, like literally me. That's when I decided, when I moved back here, I was like, I will never ever allow someone to take hold of me like that again. And I'm not talking about Xander, by the way. This is not about him. So I just really tapped and tuned with who I was. I focused on, regulating my nervous system, doing things that made me happy. A lot of the times too, I like tapped into mom guilt. I don't want to like work on myself or do things because it's selfish or whatever, but that's the complete opposite perspective to have when you have kids, because they love you. God gave them to you because of uniquely who you are. What you bring to the table, especially when you're happy and fulfilled, you're going to be the best version of yourself around them, and they're always going to look at like them bringing joy into your life instead of looking at, I think a lot of moms think, I don't know, I don't want to get into this, but I feel like a lot of moms, they feel like the sacrifice and like losing themselves is part of it, and they kind of almost, I don't know, it's like a prideful thing, like that makes them a better mom the more they sacrifice. And I just think that's so wrong, because you're gonna look at your kids, and your kids are gonna look at you like every time they're around, you're depleted, you're not fulfilled, and it's like gonna turn around and make them think that that's because of them. So I just think it's so important, especially as moms, to make sure that you're filling your cup too. Then you can like exude that fulfillment to your children and be present and happy and like so in the moment, not sacrificing who I am and thinking that that's gonna somehow make other people's lives better. Like, it's the complete opposite. I'm happiest when I am living my life. I'm not influenced by so much. When I'm the happiest, I've realized, especially on my channel, it's when I'm doing things that I like to do and things that make me and my channel happy. I don't really focus on views. I don't focus on the money. I don't focus on any of that stuff. And when I tend to focus on that stuff, I feel very disconnected from it, and it becomes like a pressured, like, I don't know, I just don't like who I am. I don't like what I'm doing. All my perfectionism comes out, and I just want to be like authentically me. Like, I'm so sick of the need to like trying to be something I'm not, which obviously I think came from a lot of the doubt I created in myself by letting external sources affect my view of who I am. It was really tough to go through that little section of my life when I didn't have my dad. My dad was like always like a protective part of my life. Like, I was his little daughter. So like having to go through things where people were kind of overriding me and like taking advantage of my personality to like basically stomp on, and not having my dad to come forth and like save the day, like that was really tough. That was extremely tough, because it was like I was being kind of backed into a corner with all this external energy and like words and like views and who I was, or telling me who I was, or telling me who I should be, and like all this stuff in a corner. And I was just like, oh my God. And then I just don't even know who I am anymore. Still sometimes don't feel as connected on my channel, or like feeling in my body and like connected to who I am. There's moments where I get frustrated at myself because I'm like, I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. And instead of trying so hard to figure it out, or trying to be myself and trying to like feel 100% the first time, like that's never gonna happen. You can't expect to be perfect, and it takes consistency and it takes practice. You know, just me picking up the camera and like doing it instead of like deleting all the footage and getting mad at myself, like just working through it all. And it doesn't have to be like what I deem perfect in my head, especially the first few times. And I keep picking up the camera and thinking like it's gonna be something, or trying to make it something. That's the problem. I'm trying to make it something instead of just being. Like, there's just so much power in just being, and the simplicity of life. There's so much beauty in the simple. Like, less is more. And I think the world right now is more, and like you have to have everything, and there's just like there's so many boxes to tick, and tracking things, and you know, just like a lot of consumption and information overload in people's minds, where it can be exhausting and time consuming. You have all these layers of expectations with all aspects in your life, and there's a right way to do things, there's a wrong way to do things, conflicting information, and it's just so much. And if you just like simplify your life and just go through the days and romanticize your life and like enjoy every moment. We have a gratitude list that we do every night. That's helped tremendously with my negative, like complaining mindset that I found myself in. It's just it's a choice. Like, you literally have to pick and choose your thoughts. It's gonna be hard at first, but every day it'll get easier, and just focusing to choose to focus on those happy things and not feeding the negative does wonders. But it's a job, like it's a full-time job. You've got to like be in tune with the thought processes you have. Don't play into the victim mentality that your mind wants you to go into. Don't doubt yourself. Find those small joys in life. Like that's what I'm learning. And just be simple, like simply nay. That's what my channel was when I first started this YouTube channel, and I was so out of it. I just was like making everything so overly complicated. There's just so much beauty in the simplicity of life. And that's what I'm kind of learning through this chapter of my life, is just to kind of like let go of all of this like tension in my life and just letting it be. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I literally dug myself into a hole, and I don't want to blame anyone or anything else but me. And obviously I have so much to blame, but I'm not gonna let that define who I am. And I'm not gonna let these hardships, especially when it's been years of hardships, change my character and make me lose my spark and excitement for life. Like I will not allow that to happen. Life is such a beautiful, beautiful thing, and we're here to have a human experience. All these lessons and things are going to teach me, if not have already taught me, so much about myself, and it's time to like step over them, right? Like it's been a barrier in my life for quite a bit now, and I am ready to move past it. I'm ready to, you know, fully dive into this next chapter of my life, whatever that entails. And it could be another lesson. Hopefully, God forbid not. I'm kind of done now. Like, can you give me a break? But I don't know. I'm very hopeful. I'm excited. I'm working on myself every single day. And I have so much beauty in my life that I years ago would have never even imagined. And so I need to learn to like appreciate that and be in those moments and focus inward in my life, in my bubble, and not allow fears, doubts, you know, past issues, other people affect that. Like it's just such a beautiful thing, and to have that be just diminished through simple things like your thoughts or other people's opinions about you, that's just not something I'm willing to sacrifice. Anywho, good therapy chat, guys. Timmy's starting to wake up here. He makes these little grunting noises. They're like little dinosaur noises. We always make fun of him. I saw on Instagram that was like babies out of nowhere in the middle of the night, and they're making like all these dinosaur noises, and it's so true. It sounds like a little velociraptor. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you guys like this style of video, just kind of like chatting. I feel like we just had a therapy chat. I loved making these before. I feel so connected to you guys when I make these, and I just feel like pressure off of me. Like I feel like I hold all this stuff in, and I have to find the right way to express it or talk through it, and I don't know, just like letting it out and sitting here and just having a video dedicated to that kind of takes the pressure away for me, and I just feel like we're just chatting and bonding. So yeah, I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening. If you made it to the end, you're a true one. I love you so much, and I will see you guys in a future video. Love you. Bye.